My name is Dorothy Firecloud. I'm the superintendent of Devil's Tower National Monument, also known as Mato Tipila, and I'm an enrolled member of the Rosebud Sioux tribe. And I'm very supportive of this project because a lot of the youth, both tribal and non-tribal, have gotten so used to technology and finding everything through technology that one of the things that we're finding through the National Park Service is if we don't have this kind of technology, we're not reaching the younger people. And if once we reach those younger people and they can see what's here at the park, then I think that it's more likely that they'd actually, talk to their parents to get them to come to visit the area.
For that to be integrated into the national park systems is something that could be profound for the up-and-coming generations. Because nowadays you have iPhones and smartphones and everything that has to do with an application that involves learning. And for them to be able to learn about the park systems when they're in the park, that would be phenomenal and outstanding because it involves maintaining the history and culture that's a part of everything within the United States.
Важность священных земель заключается в сохранении экологического баланса, планетарного баланса.
We believe that this spring is so sacred. We only go up there once a year to sing at the doorway of our creation story.
These places are where the real nature of the world glows and emanates, yeah?
They got no right to tell us what to do. It's our country, it's our land right here now.
Wherever the oil companies went, they destroyed the way of life of people and they left them with nothing to survive on.
Sacred places are part of the future, and if they're not, we're in deeper trouble than we can imagine.
We have to shift our attitude of ownership of nature to relationship with nature. The moment you change from ownership to relationship, you create a sense of the sacred.
For indigenous people around the world, the rights of nature and culture are intertwined. They fight for both on sacred ground.
Losing Sacred Ground is going to tell the stories of 8 indigenous communities around the world that are fighting to protect sacred places. And the threats include logging, mining, fundamentalist Christian missionaries, tourism, New Age practices. And in each case, the indigenous communities are coming up with really creative solutions and strategies to protect their sacred sites. It's the spiritual connection to the land that's the source of the resistance.
We're all together, we must fight this thing. This ground here, look.
For indigenous people who see the land as alive, this is the essence of their culture. It's the essence of their songs and their ceremonies and their language and their food supplies. So protecting sacred places and understanding them and passing that knowledge to another generation is really the essence of many indigenous communities. And these places now are threatened, and that's the source of the need for our documentary film project.
The Sacred Land Film Project is more than like a film company. A lot of it is about advocacy, it's about education, it's about information. We're partnering with the National Park Service, and the superintendent of Devil's Tower National Monument, Dorothy Firecloud, is working with us on this project.
I've always been interested in land issues, and especially being a member of a federally recognized tribe. Growing up, we'd always heard stories about how important the land was, and especially sacred sites. And Devil's Tower is one of the sites that's especially significant to my tribe.
In the case of Devil's Tower, the main conflict is rock climbing. It's sacred. Native people say there should be no climbing. So the Park Service said, do you want us to ban climbing? And the elders went back and talked in the community, came back to the Park Service and said, we don't want you to ban climbing. That would be like a government edict, a regulation. What we want you to do is educate the climbers to know why it's sacred to us so that they choose, out of respect, not to climb. It has to come from the heart.
We talked about developing a podcast at the park, but we didn't have any kind of financial assistance or any kind of expertise to do that.
Reaching people on television or through film is just one avenue. And these days, my kids are texting all the time and they're using their iPods and their iPhones. So what we'd like to do is sort of tap into new digital technology, and what we've come up with is an augmented reality experience. And the idea is to select some sacred sites that we're working on with our film.
In this case, Devil's Tower National Park. The user will be able to, at 6 different locations on their walk around the tower, access content from this program.
It's more than a podcast. It uses GPS technology, and augmented reality means that they can hold their phone up and see a landform, and an image is superimposed on that, augmenting the reality.
What this device does is it offers a different story about the environment you're in. It offers the history.
The meaning of the place names, the meaning of the medicinal plants.
Quotes from elders, poetry.
Walk around the tower, hear from the native people why the place is sacred to them.
And hopefully connect to the land yourself.
What we've been doing is providing a lot of background information.
She's helped us identify how to approach the stories in the most culturally sensitive way. Some of the augmented reality depictions are actually originating from mythology of the location.
Some children had gone for a walk, and all of a sudden, this large, very large bear started running towards him. So he stopped and offered a prayer. All of a sudden, there was a rumbling underground, and the earth began to move and rise. And as this bear ran up, they were out of reach.
And the little girls continued to pray, and they all went up into the heaven and became the stars of Pleiades.
If the user holds up their iPhone, they'll be able to see what Lakota encampment looked at when they gathered for the summer solstice, and see the constellations, what the placement was in the sky at that time.
We're inviting the users to make an offering in the Native American tradition, so they can leave photos or videos or their reflections as they move through the space. And I think when you do an offering like that, you become part of the space. We have a vision to bring it to Uluru, to Manhattan, to Berkeley, San Francisco, places where a sacred site has been lost all over the globe could integrate this application.
We'd also like to have indigenous communities provide video and audio updates and tell their own stories, and to give people instructions about what's needed, how they can help, where they can send money.
Sacred places are indicators of health of the environment and of the whole earth. So by protecting these sacred places, we're protecting all of the land.